Are you sick of washing your old bomb Chevy and every time you throw water on one of the doors it just comes inside the cab? Well, a lot of times it's this weather stripping. It's just glued on, and by now a lot of it's petrified, even if it had been replaced at some point. I mean, you can see just how bad that cell foam that's in there has just kind of broken up over the years, and sometimes it's loose, sometimes it comes off, sometimes it's already broken. Well, I'm going to show you how to go through and do that, re-glue some new stuff on there, and the best way that I've found to do that. So watch the rest of this video if you're curious. Start by ripping all this old weather stripping out of here. It's going to come apart in a ton of pieces. We're going to have to scrape it out. We're going to have to clean it up. So I'm going to go ahead and start, but some of it will just come off as easy as that. Some of this glue is just super old. Some of these old 50s cars, they've got these little plugs right here. They just basically just hold the gasket in place around this contour. Let's see, and then also too, right back here in some of these cars, you can release the door handle. So I suppose what they'd like for you to do there as well is to maybe not use adhesive. That way, if you need to remove this door handle, you can kind of just pull this out of the way like this last guy didn't do for this. But really the best way is just kind of take a flathead and just slowly pry that cap up some, just very lightly. You don't want to break it. You can kind of see they got three little legs that just kind of separate as they're in, so they hold their place. So take those out. And that's out. We can go ahead and keep on ripping this stuff off. These door seals in the bottom are held in by this little ridge. It's kind of like a wavy shape. The metal just is tapped over and holds the seal edge, I suppose, so it doesn't roll out, given that it's already vertical. Best thing to do is take a flathead. I push it into the seal. I push it under one of the edges, little wavy bits. Just do that. And then I always take these little right angle needle nose and just bend that edge out a little bit just to get it out of the way. When I go to scrape off the door gasket, what I end up using is these old gasket scrapers that are used for like engines and stuff like that, with aluminum blocks or aluminum mating surfaces. For some of the stuff that's really hard to get off, I use one of these old like spackle scrapers, or even like a Bondo spreader that might be metal. This just helps get a little bit more some of that stuff that's really on there hard off, but this gets most of the stuff off really. After this, I'm going to go through with some wax and grease remover. That'll help get the most of the rest of the stuff off and make a good surface for the new stuff to grab onto. some of was me cleaning up this little alley and or pinch for the door gasket. I go through with a wire wheel and just kind of get all this brown rust kicked up and cleaned off as much as I can. This door is actually in really good shape, but I just go ahead and get as much off as I can. I'm gonna go through with some Pour 15, just touch up some spots just to make sure that this stuff doesn't necessarily continue from outside sources. And so you can see I just kind of Pour 15 this bottom edge where it was starting to kind of not blister but get kind of corroded. Really honestly isn't much rust. I really was expecting there to be rust in here, but that's just all old glue. So this is exceptionally clean. The other doors I had to kind of really paint this area up and clean it up as much as I could, but this one's actually pretty solid. So next thing would be to kind of wait for this Pour 15 to dry up. Even though it's not in the tracks, I'm going to wait just because this stuff gets everywhere. I don't want to get it on my arm and then accidentally get it on the car somewhere because I was being careless and impatient. Alright, this little kind of crevice in here is basically the front of the door jamb. That's going to be kind of hard to get to. As you can see, there's really no space. There's maybe a ½ an inch that you can fit something in there. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this little spatula and I'm just kind of moving it around as much as I can to just knock off all the loose stuff. You know, really, you don't have to get it perfect. This glue that I'm going to use is really strong, so it's not going to be a problem. The driver's side door I did this process for and it's been fine. It's been a couple months, so I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up as well, and then we'll get to installing the seal. Alright, so I wanted to show you this real quick. When you're working on this front door jamb, you're going to see that it's really hard to get to, but if you kind of close the door a quarter of the way, 3/4 open, you can reach your hand in here with a cloth with some wax and grease remover and just work it up and down the jamb, and it's really getting it actually really clean. So you can probably also fit a small screwdriver in here that's got a very soft tip to kind of scrape out some of this old glue as well. So this really honestly I think is probably going to be the best method of cleaning this area. It's really not accessible from the inside unless you have small, really long fingers. Make sure as well before you put the gasket on, I would say right as soon as you start this project, you're just about to rip off that door seal. Take your new door seals, set them on something. I'm lucky because we've got a black truck bed, so it's going to be pretty warm. Set the seal out, let it kind of expand. It's foam, it'll get kinked up in shipping because they wrap it tight. So I lay it in here with big hoops, that way it can all kind of expand. Last thing you want to have happen is to glue this in and then it expands on itself because it's finally able to breathe. You got some kind of kink, it looks terrible, it comes off. That wouldn't be fun. Alright, so after you take your seals out of the sun, I always take some wax and grease cleaner, wax and grease remover, put it on a little rag or paper towel, and I run the whole seal through it. Just because, you know, this just sat in the truck bed, but also in freight, who knows, if you get dirty, you don't want anything messing with your progress. So just take that paper towel, wrap it around, and just run it through. A little bit cleaner. I'm not going to do it until the point that the rag is clean because, like I said, there could be dye on there that makes it colored black. So I'm just going to leave it as it is with good faith that it's clean. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the seal in. You can see, you may not be able to see in there, but it's got a skinny side and a thick side. The skinny side, the base of it, I'm going to glue. The thick side is going to be the side that pinches between the door panel and the actual body, just because this is thicker, so this obviously is going to take up a little bit more room, so that's going to fit better. Also, I'm going to use this 3M Super Black trim adhesive, or sealant, weather strip adhesive is what they call it. Works great, dries pretty quickly for what it is, and like I said, I've never had any issues with it before, so it works really good. Go ahead and place this end under the door where that little pinch is. That way no one will see the ends of this. So I'm going to put that there, run this around the whole door, back under. Where it butts up, I'll cut them nice and flush, and then we'll be done. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this bottom side. Go ahead and throw this little plug back into the hole right there. So now I've got the underside in place. I've got that little pinch piece hammered back down. I'm gonna let the door just kind of sit and let everything kind of set up. Like I said, this glue sets up really fast, so I'm sure that 75% of the door is good. This little jam inside here, I'm sure probably needs some time to dry before I close it, because you don't want the pressure from the door jam to push the door seal out and out of place, and just kind of defeat everything you just did. So I'm gonna let it sit for a little while, and then we'll be able to drive it, close the door, whatever we want. Here's a close-up too of what I was trying to show earlier. You've got a skinny side right here. That is the side where I adhesive the bottom so it sits in the channel like this, because this thick side right here is going to be what squishes when the door jamb hits it. Also, there's a little bit of like a ledge right here. I would imagine that's designed to space this off of the edge, so that way it can push into the edge if needed, and I guess help maybe with the door opening and closing. But yeah, I got this weather strip from Chevs of the 40s. I got the 4-door set, and you can see got a good bit left over, so you do have some margin of error if you need to cut off some, or you want to trim it, or whatever you need to do, or if you just want to use this for something else, you'll have that as well. So, but got the door all gasketed up. Let's see. I'll show you this door. Did a few days ago. It looks good. You know, some of the adhesive just kind of comes out the sides of it. It's really hard to guess how much you're going to need to fill that little bit of a void, but you know, closes nice. I also did this door, but that door's locked. But I did this front one too, and it's worked out pretty well. I haven't noticed any water coming in from this area, The windshield leaks some, but none from the doors that I can see. And what I didn't show in this video is I did do the trunk as well a while ago. So there's a couple styles for this. I chose a style that presses on to this little lip, and then this seal I actually glued into place, and I pour 15 the whole jam just because it was so full of rust. But that works really well. Seals really well. I don't have any trunk leaks anymore. And this pinch piece holds on pretty well. I glued it in some areas, just little spots, just kind of hold it in place because it wanted to grab the paint in the trunk and go with the paint. But works really well. I got these little bumps from Chevs of the 40s as well. This seal came from Chevs of the 40s, so they're a good place to get some replacement parts for these old Bel Airs that are kind of hard to get. Alright, so it's been about a day. I let the seal just dry overnight, let the paint dry overnight, just because, like I said, don't want to mess it up by closing the door, having to get on stuff, or having the seal come loose. But it all works really well. It stayed in place. Paint's good and dry. So that'll keep all the rain out, at least right here. I'm gonna have to do that windshield eventually, but it came out nice. You can even see a little bit of some impressions right there in the gasket where it is contacting the door jambs. At least I know that it's actually making a seal. So awesome.